Is having faith in Jesus Christ reasonable? Sure, you'll meet lots and lots of Christians, some of them really pushy, judgmental, and annoying, who will tell you their very emotional story about why they believe in Jesus, and that's nice as far as it goes. But can a thinking person be a follower of Jesus Christ? In Mark chapter 12, verse 30, Jesus said that the greatest commandment was to love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength. I don't know about you, but if I'm to love someone with all my mind, doing so had better make sense to me, because my heart will never rejoice in what my head rejects. Believe it or not, the Bible even says something very similar to this. In 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 14, the Apostle Paul writes, "If Christ has not been raised, then our preaching is vain. Your faith also is vain." 3 verses later, in verse 17, he says even more directly, "And if Christ has not been raised, your faith is worthless." Christianity stands or falls, then, on one event in history: the resurrection of Jesus. Jesus himself said in Matthew 12:40 that the only sign given to validate his claims would be his resurrection. The question then is, are there historically reliable reasons for believing that Jesus of Nazareth rose from the dead? There are, and that's why I'm making this video. Before we look at the resurrection of Jesus, though, we should deal with a pre-existing problem for a lot of smart people, namely miracles. If you're predisposed to believe that miracles cannot occur under any circumstance, then I'm afraid no amount of evidence to the contrary will convince you. However, I would like to point out that this position is intellectually illogical and closed-minded. If there really is a mind behind the universe, a God, shouldn't we allow for the possibility that if he chose to make himself known, that he might do so precisely by doing something out of the ordinary? To borrow from C.S. Lewis, if I put $10 in my sock drawer today and $10 in my sock drawer tomorrow, I will have $20, provided that one of my kids hasn't come in and taken out lunch money. You see, math can tell me what I should expect to find. It cannot tell me what my kids will do. In the same way, science can accurately predict an outcome, but it can't tell me whether or not the one who invented science ever suspends the rules on occasion. So, if there is a God, we must allow for the possibility of miracles. Saying there are no miracles because it doesn't fit our pre-existing worldview is an illogical position, especially if you've never honestly considered the evidence. Also, I won't spend any time here proving Jesus' existence. References to Christ dating back to the 1st century and non-biblical sources confirm it. He existed. I will, however, spend just a bit of time discussing the historic integrity of the source material for the life of Jesus, the New Testament. Before I became a believer in Jesus, I assumed, like many do, that the New Testament had been copied and recopied so many times that it had to have changed. However, after 3 weeks of investigating this for myself, I learned that there's more evidence to support the historic integrity of the New Testament than for any other book in history by a factor of 10. There are over 4,000 early manuscripts in existence in museums all over the world. I'm not saying you must therefore